What's up guys, this is Miasin and welcome to the OCG Metagame Breakdown number 5. This time I'm not late at all, it pretty much just got posted, so yeah, still sorry for not uploading it like the morning, but if you're like in Australia or something, you probably don't really care anyways, huh? But yeah, anyways, we're covering 301 top performing decks from 60 tournaments during the span of pretty much 1 week. And there's basically no new card because Saiba the Fighting Swordsmith, I don't know what the hell that is, and I couldn't care less. But anyways, let's get right into it as soon as you smash the like and subscribe button and check out my Blue Eyes and Crystron spreadsheet on my website. Anyways, the first, well, I mean, the number one best deck, of course, is Vanquish Soul. And it's actually really interesting how it says 66 Vanquish Soul, 53 of them are with K9, and 13 of them are just pure Vanquish Soul. But even then, that is not true at all. As a matter of fact, it's 65 K9 Vanquish Soul, and then 1 pure Vanquish Soul. The 12 other Vanquish Soul in here, they're still playing Izuna and Lupus. It's just that they're not playing like Lantern, Jokul, and if there's something else, yeah, I guess X-Force Liberation. That card's ugly though. I'm not trying to play bricks for no good reason. It's like, if I can play Case instead, that's like so much better. And if you don't understand anything about K9, you're probably very confused at anything that I've said so far. It's really important to really understand what the K9 cards do because you're going to find those cards everywhere. And it's not about the deck being tier 0. It's not that. It's that Izuna and Lupus, I mean, especially Izuna. Izuna is pretty much like the new hand trap that summons itself on the opponent's turn and actually hurts the opponent quite a lot. So it's like a new package. It's kind of like how people were able to do like a small rescue ace package with like 3 of a thing that summons something that this draws 2 and discards 1. You can do that in Vanquish Soul, but instead of, you know, draw 2, discard 1, you're basically stealing an opponent's monster on turn 0. Which is kind of broken. And obviously that's just the tip of the iceberg, but the real thing that makes K9 really broken is just the fact that the cards do so much through hand traps, and it benefits, it literally rewards you for getting hand trapped. Like, oh, you wanna, I don't know, like Chummy Me or something, I really don't care. As a matter of fact, you only really lose to like Perulia when you're playing K9 Vanquish Soul, but Furos, it literally just does nothing at all. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't even be like shocked if you could make like an actual unbreakable board and just draw a bunch of cards and just do a lot by giving 0 draws to your opponent into 4 also with K9 Vanquish Soul. But yeah, Perulia feels like it hurts this deck a fair bit. And then again, if you do get hit by Perulia, then I guess there's also like Stake Your Soul where you can summon whatever, like Raisin from the deck, or I don't know. And maybe like you can chain a Holy Suit to summon itself from the hand. I don't know if that works, maybe. I don't know if it's like an actual quick effect. Yeah, during the main phase, yeah, never mind. Yeah, it felt too good to be true, but whatever. Vanquish Soul is a super good deck right now, and it's actually funny because it's not even like a hand trap turbo deck, but it's a deck that is borderline impossible to stop with your non-engine cards. They just don't do enough. So even though this deck doesn't really make like unbreakable boards or something, it's a very well-balanced deck, and it reminds me a little bit of like the trap decks in a way, but without trap cards. I know what I've just said sounds really stupid, and you're probably losing brain cells, but try to think about it. It's like, it's a similar playstyle where you're not FTKing your opponent too much, but you're still doing enough to the point where it matters, and your opponent's cards are bad against you. So again, that's the main thing about this deck. Anyways, Yummy, second best deck, of course, makes a lot of sense. It can insulate itself from the Nibiru and stuff by making Herald of the Arclight, and it's an insanely consistent deck. There's a lot of ways to play it as well, so keep an eye out on Yummy. And by the way, Dragon Tail is probably one of the biggest falls from heaven I guess I've seen in a while, because Dragon Tail was like the #1 best deck for quite a while. There we go, you can see Dragon Tail #1 here, which is really confusing because on the thumbnail it's showing Yummy as the best one and then Dragon Tail is the second best, but then when you go here, it's actually the other way around, so you see, kind of confusing. And then in here, it's yeah, Yummy and then Dragon Tail. Whatever. Look, I've been seeing Dragon Tail perform a little better in the past, but doesn't matter. Who cares? Because Dragon Tail is now the 3rd best deck. Malice is the 4th best deck, and then K9 Crystron. Again, huge shout outs to my Crystron spreadsheet. You can find it on yacineygo.com. First link at the top of the description box below. But yeah, K9 Crystron is a deck that I think is gonna be insanely good in the TCG because it special summons like crazy. It's actually a huge combo deck, and obviously we don't have Maxi, and the Chummies are not particularly good against this deck. But then again, Perulia can be decent, so there's still workarounds for Perulia. Like, for example, in Steven Santoli's deck profile, he mentioned how if you go like Imseti effect to discard like your Sulfnir or, you know, Sarcophagus discard, then your Crystrons, instead of being summoned from the hand, they're summoned from the grave. So instead of losing to Purlia, you start losing to Meows instead, but Meows is not a good card against Crystron, so you can actually capitalize off of that, because now if I'm getting hit by Meows, then I'm not getting hit by Purlia, so I'm just gonna summon the monsters from the hand. And also Fueros against Crystron, yeah, not really the best, right? It doesn't really do too much. And the K9 engine really just fixes a lot of flaws for your deck. So for example, if you used to lose to like Lancia and stuff because you really needed to banish for Crystron stuff, well, with the K9 engine, you really don't care, because every single K9 card just doesn't banish. So it's so if anything, it even like helps you out, because now Lupus, if it was summoned off of its own effect and then it leaves the field, it actually just goes back to your grave. So yeah, thank you very much for hitting me with Lancia. You just went -1, and I'm okay, not really going +1, yeah, but still, whatever, you get what I'm trying to say. By the way, I'm really not gonna bother explaining all the builds for Dragon Tail because it's kind of boring. Actually, it's very interesting. Majestus, Pure, Primite, K9, Fiendsmith, K9, Despia, Valiance, but I still couldn't care less about that deck. This is the one deck that doesn't actually interest me whatsoever. I'm really interested in Vanquish Soul, a little bit in Yummy, actually, and I'm absolutely not interested in Malice. I hope that deck can burn in hell. But yeah, anyways, K9 Crystron, the GOAT, like I said. Sky Striker, another really good deck. 6th best deck. That's interesting. But yeah, I mean, it's a deck that can OTK now, and it can actually make quite a lot of disruptions when it goes first. Interestingly enough, but it doesn't really make Omni Negates and stuff, so it's kind of easy to take advantage of. White Forest, the hardcore combo deck that loses to like a lot of hand traps. I mean, it doesn't lose to like the baby hand traps too much, but it loses really hard to like the turn skips, the Chummies, especially Perulia and Drillin Logbird against White Forest. Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous. Anyways, Lunalight, yeah, this deck is insanely broken. Another deck that is on my radar. I have not checked this deck too much recently. I mean, I've not tried to build a single combo, but I will definitely once I have a little bit of time. It looks really cool. Anyways, Raziol, every single build basically is not pure Raziol. Either Gagaga Raziol or Regenesis Raziol, which I'm really confused. I really don't see the synergy, because people can do this right now and they're not doing it. The new Regenesis support from Duelist Advance, it's not really good. As a matter of fact, I even argue that it's kind of dog shit, huh? There's, hold on a sec. Let me double check. Regenesis Penta Uke. If you control blah 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 garbage, and then there's a commandments. Apply these garbage. Alright, fantastic. So it sucks. And then yeah, no, Matt obviously is insane. Art Media, there's that kind of it doesn't look insane. Pure K9, there we go. I mean, that's an option. At the very start of the format, it was doing so much better than it is now. Look at this. K9 was there. And then if we go back here, it's probably like, yeah, there you go. It was actually doing better than K9 Crystron. And now all of a sudden, it's on the same level as decks like Art Media. Ooh. And it's doing barely better than Despia, which is it's starting to get disrespectful, huh? Anyways, Primite Blue Eyes, again, huge fell from Grace. It used to be so much better. Tenpai Dragon, there we go. It's still the best deck in like the best of one formats. Stupid events, by the way. Fiendsmith Evil Twin, Gem Knight, whatever, purely ancient gear, Atlanteans, blah blah blah, who cares, waste of time, blah blah blah. Okay, oh, Morganite, oh, okay, that's interesting. Ryugi and Shark, there we go. Imagine being able to compare Shark to Atlantean. How is this even possible? Like in the TCG, this deck is at the very least in like the top best decks, at least, even right now. So this deck that is beyond unplayable, no Toad, no Dweller. imagine. You just lost 8 cards from your extra deck. Something like it's insane. Anyways, Vanquish Soul. Okay, so again, exactly as I explained, out of the 66 Vanquish Soul, 53 are running the full K9 package, 12 are just running Izuna and Lupus, and one of them is not running any K9 cards. So in other words, that one Vanquish Soul guy is the only one that we can take reference from, because his build is basically something that will be a thing for the NAWCQ, because we're gonna have Duelist Advance, but not Justice Hunters, whereas in the OCG it was the other way around. They had Justice Hunters before they had Duelist Advance. Really interesting, I guess, like chronology, but whatever, that doesn't really matter too much. Because the thing is, like, we know that information beforehand. It's just that we don't really want to like think about it all too much. It's not really gonna change anything in the long term. We just have to know that we're eventually gonna have like Vanquish Soul cards and no K9 cards. So obviously the format is gonna be completely different. There might technically be a ban list, but I kind of really doubt it, honestly. I think Konami is just gonna milk Malice and Raziel one final time. I have no idea how they plan on milking Raziel in Duelist Advance. I also don't think there's any Malice support in Duelist Advance, so technically they should actually hurt them, but there could also be Mitsurugi support, like a third wave, which would be good for pure Mitsurugi, but also for Raziel Mitsurugi, which would be like an indirect way of like pushing sales. But in the OCG, they just decided to say, okay, screw Raziel once and for all. Oh, actually, no, never mind, the Onomat cards. There you go, Gaga something, whatever. That's good for Raziel, and for Malice, I really have no freaking idea. But yeah, whatever. As you can see, this is what the full K9 package looks like. So 3 Izuna, 1 Lupus, 1 Lantern, 3 Jokul, no case. Very interesting. So basically, your Lantern is only searching bricks. It's only searching X-Force Liberation, which is ass. You want to be able to search something that actually does something, but why do that when you can just search a bad card instead? I mean, it's not that it's a bad card, it's just that it's a terrible card to draw. But then again, whatever, it's fine. If you don't play like too many bricks, or if you can skillfully put it back on the deck with Phantasme, then yeah, that's like a really nice way of not bricking on bricks too much. This deck feels like it doesn't play a lot of hand traps, but it kind of does. So 3 Ash, 2 Maxi, 1 Shifter, so that's 6. And then 3 Zuna, so that's 9. And then 3 Holy Sue, so that's 12, I guess you can say. Because Holy Sue, if you play a lot of... hold on a second. What's the attribute that you have to reveal again? I kind of forgot. In order to summon from the deck. You gotta reveal Fire and Dark. Oh, that is not... you know, that is convenient for you to some degree. Because out of your 3, 6, 7, 8... Out of your 8 K9 monsters, 4 of them are Dark. And then 4 of them are Earth. So you can still, at the very least, worst case scenario, reveal like 2 different K9s, I mean 2 different attribute K9s, so Earth and Dark, and then you can basically steal an opponent's monster, which is actually kind of scary. And then next turn, if you top deck like a fire monster, then you can summon Ryzen, and then Ryzen effect, search like Caesar Valius, and then, you know, bounce back, and then Caesar Valius effect, destroy. That's crazy, man. The fact that Holy Sue can be a double disruption on its own, it's kind of concerning. So yeah, I do believe that K9 Vanquish Soul is the kind of deck that doesn't even have to play a lot of like other kinds of hand traps, because you know, it still plays like in-engine hand traps like Holy Sue and Izuna. So that's the reason why the format looks kind of weird. No Imperm, no Veiler, no Ogre, no Chummies. You don't need them. You just need the attribute hand traps. And speaking of which, there's also 1 Phantasme and 1 Vado. So technically we're looking at 14 hand traps, which is, you know, a pretty decent number. So that's really nice. And also, again, this deck doesn't really lose to, like, any one thing in particular. Like, there's no, like, floodgate that necessarily kills this deck, right? You look at people's, like, side decks and stuff. It's not like I can say, oh, no, if you flip this against me, I lose. No, not really. Not with Vanquish Soul. So that's nice. The extra deck, I mean, there is Neo Galaxy Ice Tachyon Dragon. That is probably because of Nash Knight. It's not like you can summon it, because I'm not seeing... Galaxy Ice Tachyon. Hold on a second. I know you can still summon it using the Barian whatever, but it's not gonna gain the bonus effects. So in other words, it doesn't do jack, unless it doesn't need Neo. Hold on a second. Actually, no, yeah, you do need Galaxy Ice Tachyon Dragon in order to have the bonus effect, but you can still use like the semi Raider Raptor Ultimate Falcon effect. No, it doesn't look legit. And no, you know what? Sure, whatever. Your extra deck space is not tight. You can afford to do it. When you have access to Nash Knight and the Barian dude, you can do basically whatever you want. That's kind of cool. Yeah, okay, that's nice. And also, by the way, this card is an X-Raziel target, right? When it's sent to the grave, it destroys a face-down card on the field. You probably know this at this point. We're citing an extra 12 hand traps because clearly 14 isn't enough. I mean, technically, you can argue that it's actually not that much. In which world do we live in now, huh? Completely ridiculous. And 2 called by, and there can only be 1. Tikaboo, I see you. Anyways, Yummy, they have like a new combo now. Now they can play the Primate Engine, which is really cool. So you can play like Vanilla and Gravity Controller, so that you can link off your fusion monster in the extra monster zone, and then summon like Vanilla from deck, and then synchro summon with a Link 1 and a normal monster. Yes, it is very stupid. And then, yeah, you can do some things, and you can make Herald of the Arclight, and then recycle back your quickly spell card, your Yummy Surprise, with your Ona something, Oka no Mitsune no Onari. I'm 100% not gonna remember this, like, in 3 seconds. What's the name? Yes, never would have guessed. But yeah, a lot of weird cards now. I don't know if this is an upgrade or not, but Yeah, 3, 5, 7. Vanilla. It just looks ugly to look at. What are you doing here? Get off my screen. And then, yeah, 3 barrel, 3... Oh, a lot of bricks. Oh, my... Yeah. I don't know. I feel like the pure yummy deck, it just felt visually more pleasing before. And now it's just like, what are you doing with this? What are you doing with, like, Drill Beam that probably is going to be dead more often than not because there's one normal monster. And we're playing the bare minimum amount of Primate cards, so I don't know. So like, you know, I don't really think that this is the optimal deck to abuse the Primate engine, because it's not like the normal monster does something for you. Whereas if you're playing Primate Fiendsmith, it makes sense because the normal monster is a light fiend. If you're playing Primate Blue Eyes, it makes sense because the normal monster is, you know, it's Blue Eyes. It makes sense in your deck. Primate Dark Magician, that could make sense. Obviously, by the way, expect a new video using the new support. But in this deck, the normal monster, it's like it's a chore to have to bring it out. So I don't know if it really makes too much sense. I'm not a big fan. By the way, you can search Primate Dragon Imperial Load or something. Forgot the name off of what's his face looking ass, the Primate Fusion. There you go. Nobody cares. Dragon Tail. I actually didn't check this before, so my bad. But yeah, against K9 Vanquish Soul, you can use Nibiru on the opponent's board in order to break the board. But not really, because your opponent can negate it with Rippers, so I really don't understand why this is being covered here. Maybe because I didn't read anything, so yeah, my bad. Dragon Tail, Femena, and K9 Izuna. Oh, there we go. Those are like turn 0 hand traps. So on the opponent's turn, you can go Femena to like fuse this, and then, you know, your opponent will have to like negate, and then you can resolve your Nibiru, so that's actually not too bad. Same thing with Izuna, you're gonna have to go like Izuna effect, and then Izuna send the Lupus, and then effect summon the Nashonite, or the Ripper, and then you can nib because your opponent has to like negate something there. So yeah, you have a lot of ways to like prevent your opponent from really being able to do whatever he wants. There's so many hand traps in this deck when you really think about it. It looks like it's not enough, but it looks like it's not too much. But look at this: 1, 2, 3, and then I guess you can say 11 hand traps, 12 hand traps, and then 15, and then 18. So yeah, almost half of your deck is just a bunch of hand traps. And there's a lot of consistency cards as well, so it's borderline impossible to break, except if you keep drawing green and orange. Yeah, these cards are dog shit, but when you're relying on like Femena, then I guess it kind of makes sense. This is like a very minimalistic deck list, right? We're really just main decking every single Dragon Tail monster at 3, and we're saying screw that. You know, if I break, I break, but again, just a friendly reminder that these cards are dog shit, right? They do absolutely nothing on their own. The orange one actually has like a proactive graveyard effect. The green one is reactive. And I despise cards like that. But yeah, whatever. The extra deck, side deck, whatever, it's not like super relevant. Retelling Sea is, by the way, solidifying itself as a side deck staple. I've seen it here and also here, so it does make sense. It's really good against... I mean, it's alright against Yummy, and it's very good against Dragon Tail, obviously, because they're going to be using the fusion spell in order to fuse, and they're back to playing the hand trap build, so they're not really playing with... the Primates all too much, or what else was used to beat? It was like Blazing Cartesia, which is actually a really nice deck. But yeah, moving on, we have Malice that is main decking Joel and Logbird in order to not only beat Vanquish Soul, because apparently they search a lot. I didn't know that, because in my mind they also recycle back a lot, and they can also they can chain Burger to Joel in order to draw cards, so that's actually kind of cool. I'm really gonna have to like study that deck extensively so that I know every single small interaction. But yeah, Deck Lockdown actually is a very broken card in Malice. Yeah, this card I don't understand why not more people play it in the TCG. It just feels like it's even better than like Mistaken Arrest. But then again, you can't say, oh, it loses to Dust or Lightning Storm. However, if nobody is playing those cards, then you might as well just go with Deck Lockdown. That makes a lot of sense. There's nothing else for me that's really worth covering other than the fact that there's a 6, 9, 12, no, 11, 14, yeah, 14 hand traps, there we go. And apart from that, yeah, I don't really care too much. So yeah, Duelist Advance is actually even, like, it's even more impactful on the format that we even thought it would be before. It's actually interesting how a lot of people said that Alliance Insight and Duelist Advance are just not relevant whatsoever. Couldn't disagree more. Every single set, honestly, at this point matters. The power creep in Yu-Gi-Oh! Is real, and it's been quite a while since the last time we've had, like, an irrelevant set, but I feel like every single time we get, like, a new core set at the very least, it has some impact on the game. Either, like, a new Tier 1 deck at the very least, or potentially a lot of Tier 1 decks, or maybe, like, a Tier 0 deck. Then again, every time there's like a tier 0 deck in terms of power level, there's a lot of other like tier 0-esque decks. So it doesn't really, it kind of balances out, right? That's the reason why it's like when we got Justice Hunters, we got 3 new broken decks. I mean, not Vanquish Soul, but yeah, 3 new, there you go, yeah. And then everything else was like pushed down. You see like the gap between Yummy, Dragon Tail, and K9, and then White Forest, and then everything else. It's like, it's really not on the same league. Clearly, the Justice Hunters decks are the best decks in the OCG right now. And in the TCG, we're not going to have that for quite a while. So if you're trying to go to Worlds and you're trying to study the format a lot, then you're going to have to start studying Duelist Advanced without Justice Hunters, which means pure Vanquish Soul and the Gaga Raziel deck. That deck could actually be the goo. But yeah, that's it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and let me know how you feel about the OCG format in the comment section below. I'll see you guys very soon. Peace.